Can you hear me okay, David? DJ? DJ.
I was working, Barb. I'm sorry.
So make sure I didn't lose him.
Nope, he was here. I have got a sore throat and a massive hangover.
Well, I hope it was worthwhile.
Yeah. Oh, we've got so much stuff going on with our house.
Do you need a throat lozenge?
If you, I don't know, do you think? Probably. Hang on a second, Barb. Well, I just know if it would gum my
I'm not
throat.
in a hurry, so you guys can, I just worry about DJ's schedule and your schedule.
Well, we had probably 2 hours last night. We kept hearing, thank you. My wife kept hearing this beep, beep, beep noise. And so at first I'm like, okay, so this has to be a smoke detector. Checked all of those. CO2 detector, checked all of those. An alarm on the door, checked all of those. We went through literally an hour and a half, and then it turned out it was actually down in the basement, and it was a smoke detector that was hidden behind something in
Oh,
the basement, and the battery was going bad. And gosh, dang, you wouldn't think it would take that long.
if it's hidden, yeah,
Better than, we have one of these high ceiling kitchens, and it looks nice, but it's virtually impossible to get up to change the battery. I have to, it sounds stupid. I have to put one battery to get up and stand on top of the highest level of cupboards. And then I have to put a smaller ladder on top of that to actually reach the smoke alarm.
that sounds very
Oh
dangerous.
my God. I'm just like, whoever designed this obviously could have done a better job. All right, let's see here. Intro.
These agents, I don't know. I wonder why they hate me so much. I don't
Because you
know.
don't play by the same rules that they do. You're like more honest.
Some of it. I mean, last weekend, it actually took 2 weekends to put together this VA assumption contract. I had never done that before. And that's coming up. People have really low interest rate mortgages, and if they're okay with assuming it, you can get it worked out. Okay. But this agent, got her license during COVID, like 80,000 other agents. Thinks she's a legend in her own brain, shoved me a contract on Friday night, want to answer Saturday at 3. And I'm like, no, we're not going to be able to, no, Saturday at noon. I'm like, I'm already booked. I'm not going to be able to answer that quickly. Okay, what about 3 o'clock? I'm like,
Oh my God.
no, because it's a completely different thing. I mean, I had to deep dive into the note on the loan. I had to get information from the lender about the assumption. There was a lot of work involved with it. So, we finally were able to put together a decent response to their offer. And I don't know what, I told her, I said, look, we're going to do it in writing. My first meeting with the seller, I had to go home and I'm like, okay, I just can't think anymore. It's a little bit complicated because it wasn't just, hey, assume the loan. Every month the loan gets paid down, and the lender said it takes 11 weeks to assume the loan. So you have to actually there's a provision in the contract where the buyer can bail if the balance is lower than what they're thinking. In other words, they have to come up with a difference in cash. And so I'm like, okay, well, wait, we got to see what the balance will be when it will close. And there's a lot of math that there isn't normally. And, and basically what she wanted, this agent, was to let her buyer tie up the property, not even do an inspection for 11 weeks.
Whoa,
And then
whoa, whoa. So it just sits there for 11 weeks doing nothing except waiting for somebody to come in and squat on the property?
waiting for a government entity to approve an assumption. And I'm like, no, 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 really? I mean, it's a $1.1 million sale. They're putting half of it down. I said, the buyer can't risk a few $100 to do an inspection. So, and well, no, because we got to protect their earnest money. I'm like, okay. So I said, look, when we answer you, we will answer you, and it's going to be in writing. So it took me 2 meetings with them and probably about 6 hours. It had 18 different items on the counter proposal, which is unusual. And anyway, we didn't reach agreement.
After all of that.
Yeah, they came back and asked for, no, we want the earnest money refundable and all this stuff. And the seller was like, look, I have to pay my mortgage every month until this gets approved. We're relying on a government entity to approve it, the VA. So what if that takes 6 months? I'm paying for the house and he could still bail out at the end of the transaction. So we had to think through all those things. I finally wrote a counter that would work. And she came back and said, no, we want the earnest money refundable. So I said, and I called her. I said, look, do your buyers, this was key to me, do your buyers like the home? And just to put it in perspective, an assumption of a VA mortgage at $500,000 where the rate is 2.25%, if they were to keep that loan over the life of the loan, it would save them $300,000. That is a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
And that's a low calculation. So it benefits the buyer, but the seller gets nothing out of it, other than they get a sale and they have to wait for months for it to go through. And the buyer could still bail out, which is the way she wanted to position it. And so I wasn't giving her what she wanted. And we were at an impasse. So the seller's like, look, I need my monthly cost covered. And so I emailed her. I said, can I just call you? No, you're going to have to send it on email so I can share it with the buyer. Okay. And I'm like, this isn't working. We're butting heads. So when I did talk to her, I asked her if the buyer likes the house. Do you think that's a good question?
Absolutely, Barb.
It's like, okay, we're going to be
Never do
involved in this contract for 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months. And you're asking if the buyer can get a get out of jail free card at the end. No harm, no foul. Do they like the house? And her answer was, they like the deal. And I'm like, wait, what? They don't like the house? No, they like the deal. And I'm like, so I go back to the seller and go, she wants you to tie up the house for months and months, and they may not be really committed. They don't like this house. And so this is just insanity. So what I did, test 1, 2, I hope this is not recorded publicly. I have software that gets contact information of people. It's pretty accurate. And the seller wanted to talk to the buyer because we were just not getting anywhere with the agent. Well, I'm not allowed to talk to the buyer. And I said, well, I've got this software. So I sent it to him. I said, this is probably his phone number. If you want to call him, you can. So he called the buyer directly. And they ended up going to dinner. And during this dinner conversation, they expressed to my clients that how much they hated me. So much so that he cringes every time he hears my commercials on KVOR. Now, I've never met the buyer. I didn't have crosswords with the agent. So where is that coming from? It's got to be her.
Gotta be.
And I've become more and more cynical as I do this longer. So it's going to come out on this show, kind of my opinion towards buyer's agents. That's why I told you the story. I won't share it
It's
on
all flowers and rainbows, right?
the.
I pity the fool who's going to mess with you, Barb.
I'm just trying to protect my client. That's all. It's not personal. I don't know the buyer. I don't know her.
Well, she doesn't know you, but feels free to, badmouth you over a commercial she heard. So
It's not about the commercial. He's listening to the radio. It's that she must have characterized me as Carilla DeVille in the transaction because I have not been rude to her. It's just that, we're working on this offer, but we're going to do it on our terms, not yours. We're not going to play your game. I don't care what you offer or what kind of deadline you put on there. I'm not working for your buyer. I'm working for the seller. And instead of being constructive, when I sent her a very complicated response to their offer with every single detail covered, she characterized me as that mean girl,
she's
and I'm just like, what? Is that how it works? If you don't get what you want, you trash people? I don't know. This is stupid.
I don't put much past many people. I mean, there used to be kind of a sense of what was right and wrong. And now everything is more, what can I get away with? What can I get away with? What can I get away with? Let's see. Wait, here we are. I've been having a problem. I was trying to stall for a second because I could
No
not,
rush on my part, guys.
no, I couldn't get my clock, working properly. And it seems like I have that problem.
The weekly challenge.
Weekly challenge, yeah. Um,
Let's see. So politics, I'm trying to keep up, but trying to do my job too. So Fanny might still get kicked off the case.
yes.
What else is happening?
Well, we have got, I, I can say this, I have never in my life seen, lawfare, as they call it, as extensively as I had in this case. And a lot of it just goes back to, the woman who alleges that he raped her 30 years ago. She doesn't remember anything. She's,
That's ridiculous.
and
That
the
one.
amounts of money that they throw around, they know full well that that much money is probably going to bankrupt him, and they don't care.
Yeah. Well, I sat in on a webinar on Friday do you ever follow Dr. Steve Turley? He's on YouTube and a couple other
Name
things.
sounds familiar. I know the guy. I know what he looks like. Yeah.
He was a professor in a college and now he's just a YouTuber. I don't know how they monetize it, but he had a paid program, which he didn't want to put on YouTube, on how you can participate in elections. And I took notes. I'm very interested in it just because I think Jenna Griswold is an extreme partisan. I think she's going to do everything in her power, and she does have a powerful position to cheat on the election.
There is no doubt.
In the primaries, it looked to me when I was looking at the numbers like Trump got more votes than Biden. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but when I looked at the numbers, I'm like,
I didn't, but you know what? They're only because I'm like everybody else. I'm so overloaded with information. But Jenna Griswold had no business holding that position in the first place.
yeah.
And she is as partisan as they get. And unfortunately, if
Bad too.
what's
Yeah,
that?
you're alienating half the voters.
Oh, I know.
It just
They-
looks
they're-
awful.
They're all in that little clique of Democrats who tell each other how great they are, and they all believe it. And everybody talks about, well, we just need to recall her. I wish we could. There's only one time in my life in Colorado that I saw a recall work, and that was only on a state legislature thing. It was not on a statewide race. So it's just I get so
Well,
aggravated even thinking about it.
he gave me some websites. It'd be cool to talk about this because I would like to participate. I would love to be a watcher when they count,
Right.
or a precinct volunteer or something like that, because you got to pay attention. These people are hell bent on cheating every way they can.
There's no doubt. And you can sign up for those things. I don't know the mechanism for that, but or how efficient it is, more than likely. But I know you can sign up to be a poll watcher, and they try to have, one Republican, one Democrat.
And they have to sit equal distance away
Yeah.
from
Oh God,
the box. And yeah,
it is such a mess.
it is.
All right, I got a
Well,
clock
I
here.
just think it'd be a good topic to go if you want to get involved. Because I tried once. I remember right after the 2020 election, I reached out to our state RNC and she never answered me.
I wish I could say I was shocked on that. When I was in law school, final story here, but when I was in law school, I had voted for Jimmy Carter. I was so disgusted at myself for having done that, that I actually called up the Reagan campaign and volunteered to work on the Reagan campaign in Chicago, which they could have used help. And they never got back in touch with me. And the problem is you have all these layers below somebody, and Reagan had no idea that there were probably 5,000 people who had called his campaign to offer to donate time, effort, and energy, but it never works its way up to the top. So fortunately, he won. But I'll see if I can find something out about that. That might make a good show. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll send you my notes that I took from that call. There were 4 key things that he said. One of them was, to early vote action, election integrity network, precinct strategy, something Steve Bannon came up with. And then a simple thing is to tell people to go confirm their voter registration. Like right now, my son's in 29 Palms. By the time it's time to vote, he got orders to Virginia. So where is his ballot going to go? Right? So are people really checking that? And what happened in 2020, I believe, is that the people that had moved away or whatever, their ballots got stuck in the D column somehow.
Oh, I think that's possible. I think it goes so much deeper than that. And that's what bothers me about all these clerk and recorders who think that there's absolute integrity with their machines. I don't doubt that they would pass a lie detector test on believing that their machines were bulletproof. The problem is they are 20 years behind. The deep state is probably 30 years ahead of where the average clerk and recorder is right now. So when they say, "Oh, it couldn't be hacked, it couldn't be changed," they're full of it. They just have no concept of what the technology that
They're trusting their vendor is what they're doing.
they are, and they're trusting their current level of knowledge. And our intelligence agencies are way past that. And so my question is always to people, so, if you think that the CIA stole an election in Guatemala or in Iran or whatever 30, 50 years ago, what makes you think they wouldn't do it again? And now they have so much better technology.
Right.
I don't have much faith in much. I have faith in you.
Mhm.
All right, I got faith in DJ. I got a clock. I got a script. I'm ready to go. DJ, you
Sorry to
good?
get off topic. I'm ready.
DJ is good. All right. What time do you need to be out of here?
1.
1. Okay.
All right.
We'll crank through it then here. Here we go. I'll count us down in 3, 2, wait. After all of that, and I have the wrong. That's what happens when I have too many pieces of paper all over the place. All right, here we go. I'll count us down again in 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's real estate authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb Schlinker is a pilot, and Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday, and if you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or just go ahead and search Barb on most of the popular podcast platforms like iHeartRadio, Spotify, all of the rest. Barb, what will we be talking about this weekend?
Well, this is going to be a very interesting and controversial show today, Richard, because there are some things I'm sure people have heard on the news that the National Association of Realtors have settled a lawsuit about how commissions are paid, particularly to buyers agents. So we're going to deep dive on that. What does that mean for consumers? How is it going to affect the real estate market? I'm really excited about talking about that. But the number one topic, it does cover that briefly, but basically it covers what is most desirable to a real estate buyer in today's market, particularly when working with agents, what they're looking for, what they're trying to get. The number two topic is the 10 ways to buy your next home without selling your current home. It's the number one dilemma. Let me say that again. It's the number one dilemma with many home buyers that if they want to upgrade to their next home, yet they have a current home to sell, how do they make that transition? And we have an abundance of solutions for those buyers. And it's actually about 60 to 70% of the buyers have a house to sell. The next thing we're going to cover are the top 10 questions that home sellers need to know before putting their home up for sale. And the very last topic is how home sellers can save thousands by hiring my team. Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb has the buyer's team, and how the new National Association of Realtors lawsuit settlement is going to change the industry this summer. And as always, our hot new listings. Richard.
Now, Barb, you often talk about real estate buyers in the market and what is attractive to them. So, what are buyers looking for when they plan to purchase real estate in today's market?
Well, one of the things that has really changed, in particular the last 10 years, is that the quality of the imagery, the photos that we put online, has gotten so high tech, and the ability to zoom in and really get details on a house based on the pictures, that many buyers are making a decision about whether or not they're even going to bother to leave their fuzzy money slippers and drive by the home and check it out further. So we know buyers are eliminating homes based on what's presented online first. That's the first area that you have to pass in order to attract a buyer. And so the way most buyers connect with an agent is they start looking online, they see something that they might want to look at, and then they finally raise their hand and give their contact information to say, hey, I'm interested in that home. I'd like to take a look at it. So the way the industry has changed, it used to be years ago when I first started in the business, the online presence and the pictures of homes really was not good enough for a buyer to make a decision about whether or not they wanted to buy in that location. They didn't know anything about the area. So they would rely very heavily on the agents, not only on what homes they wanted to see, but also what areas they wanted to look in. What has changed in today's market is much of that stuff is available online. People can sit there on their phone. They can look at the Google map around it. They can see everything around the home. They can look at some of these other websites and see the history of the listing, how long it's been on the market, whether or not they made price adjustments. There's all kinds of data out there for the buyer to easily see at their fingertips. So typically buyers really just need buyer's agents to open a door and make an offer. And that's kind of how it works. So what happens is they see the presentation that the listing agent made about the home online. Then they go drive by. Then they're like, okay, I like the area. I really want to explore this further. I'd like to see this home. They reach out to who they think is the listing agent, which it's definitely not. If you're looking on Zillow or Realtor.com, you're not getting the listing agent unless you scroll all the way down to the bottom and look for their phone number. You're getting some random agent that paid Zillow or Realtor.com for leads, and they don't know anything about the home. So this is how it goes. The buyer raises their hand and says, hey, I'd like to see that home. Is it available? And the agent goes, oh, let me check. You can see them typing it in, and then they'll go, yeah, it's available. When would you like to see it? So the very first meeting with the buyer is at the house, opening the door. Many times these agents have no idea what the buyer is looking for, and they have no idea whether or not the buyer has the ability to buy a home. In fact, this state does not require the agent to verify that the buyer has the ability to buy a home. They open the door and they kind of hope that this buyer wants the house. So, and then it goes from there if it does. And that's what gets really frustrating for sellers is like they go through all this trouble to prepare their home to show, and they're thinking, okay, this is the one. I'm so excited. They're going to love the home. They're going to make an offer and they're going to get it. We're going to sell it. Well, unfortunately, they don't know. Just the other day, I had a showing on one of my listings. It's a beautiful ranch style home with spectacular views. It really is a gorgeous property. It backs to open space in a great neighborhood. Well, the feedback from the agent was, well, the buyer really wanted a two-story, not a ranch. And I'm like, why are you showing a ranch? And I think what happened is my guess that somehow they got connected via Zillow or Realtor.com, which are not the MLS, they are tech companies, with this buyer. And the buyer wants to see this house. So the very first meeting's at the house, even though they're not going to buy that house. So it's really frustrating for home sellers because they take all this time and effort in order to prepare for these showings and pick things up and make sure the dishes are put away and the beds are made and on, thinking that this is the one. And these agents have no clue. So I have this stuff happen all the time. Now, recently, very recently in the news, everybody's hearing that the National Association of Realtors settled a lawsuit to stop all the lawsuits that were happening. It wasn't just one, there were 5 or 6 going on. And basically, the home sellers got together and said, wait a minute, I don't think this is fair. I'm paying my agent X percent, let's say 6 as an example. Okay. And they're sharing some of that commission with the buyer's agent. But that buyer's agent is trying to get me to sell the home for a lower price, asking me to spend thousands of dollars of fixing things. And then they try to sabotage the transaction through the process for various reasons. And I'll tell you some stories about that. So what the problem was that they were paying a buyer's agent to work against them like a conflict of interest. So these lawsuits started to get a lot of traction. Plus, some of the brokerages were absolutely requiring that if the agents didn't offer so much commission to the buyer's agent would actually boycott that listing and not show it. Now, that's not legal, but I'm just telling you it could happen. And the truth is that now, because the technology is so good, the buyers are really deciding what homes that they want to see. So this settlement came out, and basically what they said is we're no longer going to offer compensation to the buyer's agent through the multiple listing service. And any agent that shows a home has to have they have to have a contract with their buyer on how they're going to be paid. It's not going to be from the seller, or it could be from the seller if it's negotiated. So it really is going to throw our world upside down starting in July. I'm super excited about it. It's the best thing that ever could have happened to the industry, because right now, what agents are doing is just showing homes to the buyers already have access to. There's really zero effort on the buyer's agent to go out and find a home that they're looking for. They're really glorified door openers. And then when you calculate the average amount of time that a buyer's agent spends helping a buyer get to the finish line from the time they first meet all the way to closing, the average is about 10 hours. Well, if you do the math, the average sales price and the average commission, that works out to be about $1,500 an hour that these agents are making, opening a door, writing a contract, and trying to sabotage the deal all the way. Richard, do you like that job?
No, I do not. I mean, if I am somebody who is buying or selling, I don't like that at all. And I need somebody like you that I can trust to get me through the maze of all of the various regulations and the way business is done.
Yep. So that's how it works right now. And then the listing agents stick it in the MLS and hope some other agent brings the buyer. It's really kind of a messed up system. And I feel like that some of this is just old technology that's starting to rear its ugly head and change the way we do business. So I think it's great. It's a great thing that happened. It's going to change the industry. A lot of the agents that aren't skilled at providing value to their buyers are probably going to get out of the business, and we're just going to see good quality agents that are there for a while. So my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb has the buyers team. And right now we're talking about really what buyers are wanting in a home, what makes them raise their hand. And basically what they need to do is work with an agent that can actually absolutely bring them value. I was talking with one of my agents this morning that shared with me that she teaches her buyers how to invest in real estate. That's absolute value that you don't see very often. Most of these agents are very what I call transactional. They're all about the money and they don't provide value. And I think we're going to see a lot of those people weeded out with this new lawsuit. So I'm Barb Schlinker. If you are thinking of making a move, give me a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. And if you'd like a free in-home consultation on what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale, we'll go over the closing costs, give you a really good idea on what your home will sell for and how much you'll put in your pocket. Plus, we'll share with you all of our buyers in waiting that we have, including buyers on realtorzillow.com, our citywide buyer agent network, our guaranteed sale program, and our cash buyers. Give us a call, 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Barb, we're discussing the things that are most desirable to a buyer purchasing a home. What do you think that the buyers want?
Well, I think in general, first of all, they think when an agent shows them the home, they know the home, they know something about it. So they want the agent to have knowledge about the property. The more information is better. It's really one of their largest investments, and they don't want to make a mistake on choosing the right property. So it's really important, but most of the time, if you got some agent in there that hasn't done any research, which I know for a fact, they don't research homes before they show them. So we have to kind of force feed the buyers the information because we know the agents aren't going to even look it up. I can't even get them to read the showing instructions. I mean, the combo for the house goes right to their cell phone, and I get calls all the time. I can't get in. What's the combo? It's just crazy. So basically, we provide great information on the home, things like placards of the not obvious improvements in the home, flyers, online information, pre-inspections, any kind of data that the seller can provide that shows it as a benefit. And so that's why you really need somebody that knows how to represent a seller and get all of what I call the 4 Ps right. Preparing the home to get top dollar, picking the right agent, pricing it right, and promoting the home so those buyers flock to your door. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking about the top ways to buy When we come back, we'll be talking about the top ways that a buyer, wait, we're just top ways.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Top ways to buy
five.
your next home without having to sell your current.
There, 3, 2, 1. When we come back, we'll be talking about the top ways to buy your next home without selling your current home first. Stay tuned for that. There we go.
Was I too mean?
No, you hold people accountable, and I'm sorry, but I don't want to say sleazy, but there are just a lot of people out there who are not like you. They try to cut a corner here. If you don't understand something, well, you know what? I'm not going to explain it to you. I already told you one time. If you didn't get it, that's your problem. I mean, I'm disgusted, disappointed minimum, disgusted often with the kind of people you have to deal with. All right, I'm gonna run to the men's room and get a new clock here.
Okay. Hmm. Oh, I nerded out and put charts in this one. Stretch my legs.
It's always nice to have a visual on the radio.
Yeah. What happened? Oh, the beach is the water there. Oh. Yes, I think high school is like a miserable experience you have to go through in your life.
Oh, yeah, she's excited to go.
She is.
Oh, yeah.
Good for her. She makes friends and all
Yeah,
that.
she does.
Yeah, it's hard for some kids.
Yeah.
DJ, are you mechanical?
Depends on what you mean.
Autos.
Cars are difficult for me. I understand them to a point, and basic maintenance I can perfectly handle. I can replace my own brakes and, pretty minor things like that. But so yes and no.
Yeah. My truck, I've got a Ram truck,
Hmm.
and the way you start it is you push a button.
Hmm.
And I made it home last week right before the blizzard. And then I went out to start it up and it wouldn't start and it wouldn't start and it wouldn't start. I'm like, well, at least it waited till I got home to do that, you know.
And
Uh,
that could be something as simple as the battery just not adding that spark to the engine that you need.
yeah.
Um,
But then Mark went, so we let it sit for 5 days and we're going to make arrangements to have it looked at. And Mark went out there today and started right up. I'm like, oh, that's a
well,
problem because now I
well,
don't trust it.
well, see the cold weather amplifies any battery issues that you're having.
You know, it might be battery. I didn't even think about that. It was cold, and we did leave it out in the cold one night. It had icicles all over it.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
And it's not used to that.
No, spoiled. Um,
All right. Let's see. I'm good to go. David,
We're good.
Barbara, Barbara.
I am ready.
I counted.
I'm gonna be nicer on this one.
Yeah, all right.
Why? That's not good radio.
All
That's
right.
true.
That's true. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She is your real estate voice, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with the host of the program, Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, you often talk of a home seller's biggest dilemma, that is, having to sell a home before they buy their next home. Most home sellers want to be sure that their sale will go as planned, so most home sellers will not take a contract contingent on another home selling. So, what are some of the top ways a home seller can buy their next home without having to sell their current home and all of that worry?
Well, Richard, it is kind of still leaning towards a seller's market. We still have a low supply of available homes, and most home sellers want certainty. They want to know that it's going to get to the finish line. They don't want their property tied up for months on end, waiting for somebody to maybe sell their house, right? So a seller's market basically is defined as if it takes less than 90 days on average to sell a home. We kind of went into an even market when the rates went up over 8% last October, but now they're down in the mid sixes somewhere. It varies every single business day, up and down. And so we're on average, if the home is priced right, if it's marketed right, it's going to sell in less than 90 days. In fact, a lot sooner than that. So we have low inventory. We have a huge buyer population of the Gen Z and X and Y and all those different generations that are entering the buyer population right now. And if they can afford the home, they're out there and they're looking for homes. So we're still seeing the prices go up, not as quickly as they did during the boom, but the prices are going up. So while it's less affordable than it was during the boom, interest rates, waggle between 7 and 6.5%. There is still a housing supply shortage, and that's going to continue. All the experts are anticipating this should go on probably for another 10 years to get caught up. And so if the buyer, and probably 70% of the buyers out there have a house to sell, they've got a problem, they've got a ball and chain that they need to get rid of before they buy their next home. But what if the perfect home hits the market before they get their house sold? Oh my gosh, what are they going to do? And so there are solutions, and we're going to talk about some of those solutions today. But right now, the average prices are rising just a little bit slower than they have. And inventory is going to stay low. The builders definitely are competing right now with existing home sales, and they're doing it very well. They're offering massive incentives. Now, I'm sure those incentives are built into the actual sales price of the home. Like I spoke with one last week that told me they bought a new construction home and they were offered right out of the gate $25,000 to do whatever they want with the home. They can lower the price. They can get lower interest rates. They can upgrade the home. So these builders are incentivizing them to buy new homes versus going to buy an older home. So that's an issue. And then the other issue is that if the average price is going slower than they thought, it's not like it was a couple of years ago where you could buy a home one year and sell it the next year and make a massive profit. That's just not realistic, and it's probably may not happen again in my lifetime, probably. So as inventory remains low, it will automatically and naturally drive up the prices. The challenge with buyers with a house to sell is they're having to compete with buyers that don't have a house to sell, or they need their net proceeds for their down payment, or they may not qualify for carrying two mortgages. I just closed a deal last week where the buyer we had been under contract for quite some time, like 5 weeks. And then they sent an amendment and said, hey, we're going to add this other person to our loan. And it kind of made my client, my seller, a little bit nervous. What's going on? So I got on the phone, asked the lender. Turned out they own a townhome and they chose to rent it out instead of selling it. So they didn't qualify anymore because they had to carry two mortgages. So they actually had to add a high net worth person onto their mortgage in order to qualify for the payment. Also, if a buyer makes a offer contingent on their home selling, there's all this uncertainty that's going to happen with the seller. First of all, they don't know when they're getting to the finish line. Second of all, it could be that transaction, if it is under contract, might fall apart. That is entirely possible. So all those things, it just kind of throws a monkey wrench into a traditional sale without those kind of contingencies. So let's talk about some of the ways you can buy your next home without selling your current home. Excuse me. Number one is get your current home under contract and get past inspection. So most sellers, if they think they're going to the finish line, they will consider an offer contingent on their home just selling that's already under contract because the seller is committed to that. Their buyer is committed to their person buying their home that it's going to close and they have to move, right? So they have to have a destination lined up. So a lot of sellers will accept those. Those are probably a little bit more desirable than an offer coming in where the buyer has to actually get their home under contract before they can perform. That puts so much uncertainty into the deal. Most sellers, when I ask them, will not accept a contract like that. The downside is there are some risk of contract failures in that scenario, and maybe or maybe not, the timing might work out, right? Like, let's say the person is selling their home in 2 weeks, but then it's going to take a month to get their loan done. They might have to move twice, but that's their issue, right? And then another option is to buy your next home first and sell later. There are some people that are financially in that situation and maybe they have a paid for house, right? And they might want their net proceeds to buy their next home, but it gives you a little bit more freedom if you qualify for a mortgage right now to go buy your next home first and then move on your schedule, sell your home on your schedule. That's a really strong position for a buyer to be in because it takes a lot of stress off of timing the market, making sure it's going to go through. It's one of the better ways if financially you can do it. The only downside, in my view, is that there could be some time when the home is going to go vacant before you sell, and we've got options for that. There are also ways where you can buy your next home first, and then when your house sells, they can do what they call a recast, where instead of refinancing, your house sells maybe 6 months after you, or 3 months after you buy your first home, your next home. You take let me start that one over again. It's really confusing. So let's say you go buy your next home in Tennessee, right? And it's going to close in this month. And then you're going to come back and put your home on the market. And that might take overall on balance 60 to 90 days to get it closed, right? So it finally sells, it closes. You take your money and then you pay down your mortgage that you have on your Tennessee home or pay it off. But let's say you pay it down. There are some loan programs, and you have to do this up front, where you can do what's called recast, where instead of refinancing that existing loan, what you do is just put the big down payment when your house sells, and they readjust the payment to a lower payment according to the balance that you have on your loan now. And those are actually inexpensive. It only costs a few $100s to make that happen. It's not a bad option if you can get it, but you have to ask the lenders. They would, of course, much rather refinance and do new financing and make more closing costs. So it's always better to ask those questions. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb has the buyer's team and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And you know, the biggest dilemma that people have when they're trying to upgrade or downsize to improve their lifestyle is having to sell a home before they buy their next home. So when we come back, we're going to cover some other really great solutions to help you solve that dilemma of having a house to sell to make that transition. You definitely don't want to miss that. And if you are thinking of making a move, we offer a free in-home consultation on what to do, what not to do to get your house ready for sale, give you a good price range of what your home will sell for and how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells, and show you all the buyers that we can present to your home today, including our exclusive buyers in waiting, buyers all over the internet, our citywide buyer agent network, and our guaranteed sale program. And we're going to talk about that worry-free move-up program. Richard?
For that free service, call 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And you can always reach Barb at 719-301-3900. And we're talking about that elephant in the room, having the dilemma of needing your equity out of your current home in order to buy your next home. So Barb, what are some solutions for home sellers that have a house to sell?
Well, one of them is you can just basically get a home equity line of credit if you have some equity in your current home and pull that equity out of your home to make your down payment on your next home. Now, in this case, you're going to have to qualify for the mortgage you have now, for the line of credit payment, and the mortgage on the home that you're buying. So not everybody fits into that box where they qualify for all three. But the good news is you don't have to sell your home first. The bad side is you have to qualify for all three. You can also take money from a retirement program. I think a 401k, you can actually take a loan. You can't do it on an IRA, I asked, but you can definitely take down payment money from a 401k and put it back in a certain amount of time or pay it back. And then one information should I disclose when you're doing that. So when you're making an offer on a home that's contingent on your home selling, you do have to tell the seller of the home that you're buying what are the landmines that you have to go through to buy that home. Now, there are some people that have a home, but they don't have to sell it. And in that case, they don't have to make their contract contingent on their home selling. So you have to sit down with your agent and really discuss that and figure out, okay, what's the best way to approach this home? If you think it's a red hot property and you're going to have competition on the home, you really have to position yourself to be the best buyer. And that means take a look at all the options. There's another option as well, which is sell your home first and then wait before you buy your next home until your home is completely sold. Then you have the proceeds, you don't have any issue or anything like that. We also have many, many guarantees that we offer our clients. Some of them are 64 high net worth cash buyers. These cash buyers, actually, I know one of them will pay you ultimately full market value of the home. Their fee structure is a little bit higher, but you know what? You're going to solve the problem and sell your home for cash and be able to move more on your time schedule than would had you waited to sell your home. We also have access to something called a buy now and sell later program. This is awesome. This is a way to take your home equity out of your home, and it becomes, instead of a loan, it's a lien. So there's a fee associated with that. However, if you have it at least, generally they'll let you borrow up to 75% of your home equity. So you have to have some equity to do this, but it's a good way in order to get the cash out of your home, buy your next home, and then afterwards you've got 90 days to sell your current home, which is very doable in this market. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900. We offer a free in-home consultation on how to get top dollar for your home, give you a good idea on what your home will sell for, how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells, and we'll go over all the closing costs. Plus, we'll present to you our buyers, including our 27,830 buyers in waiting, are cash buyers, even with cash offers, buyers on the internet, and it's a free service and you're never obligated to sell. So give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
If you're thinking of making a move and you're thinking about trading up, call Barb. She'll get you in. Don't like that. 321. If you're thinking of making a move and you're looking to trade up to another home, call Barb's team at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break, but when we come back, we're going to be covering the top 10 questions that home sellers need to know before putting their homes up for sale. Stay tuned for that. And I am
I went long.
to this
I don't know why I struggled with that one. I was looking at the slides going, nope, that doesn't fit. Why am I saying that?
Yeah, I was struggling a little bit here too. At some point, David, I only got section 1, 2, 3. So I need 4 to be printed out if you could. You know, I got hit in my neck in the last automobile accident. I thought it was okay. It is not okay.
Uh-oh. Did you go to therapy and all that?
No.
No.
You know what happened was, and I saw this all the time when I was a lawyer. So the day that you're in the accident, you have so much adrenaline and it doesn't really hurt. And then usually for a day or two, it's not too bad. And then about the third or the fourth day, it really starts to come back and hurt. And so, and it hurts pretty much nonstop. I mean, you're trying to sleep, it hurts. You're trying to stay awake and keep your neck in a certain position. It doesn't work. And my wife is like, you need to go in and have this looked at. And I'm like, you know what? I got enough other problems that are more important than that. We can get around to that later on. And I don't know why. David will attest to the fact that I bitch and moan about this stuff all the time. All right, let's see. I've got number 3 here.
Okay.
I'm going to put this in my throat for a second or two. Thank you, David. Headphones off for a second, Barb.
No problem. Did that last one make sense, DJ? I was editing on the fly.
And that's the problem. You gave me that like an hour ago. I took 3 of them and it already hurts again. I swear to God, if they made something where they could just give you an injection and it would completely numb everything. Oh.
Unfall.
I don't know where it printed the damn thing.
I looked through, just so you know, I did look through all of these. And it wasn't there unless I dropped it on the floor. I don't think so, but let me look. And I did make a massive drop of stuff, but that was actually before we came in to do the show. Yeah. Sorry about this. Thank you. That's what we done this morning, so it was, just couldn't accept Jeff Crank's recommendations because he didn't meet with all of the people in Monument who were running for office. I'm like, do you have any idea? If you went down to Fountain and everybody who was running for commission out to,
Did he quit doing a radio show?
running for office.
Hmm.
So he was doing the show on Saturday, but when Doug Lamborn stepped down, he decided to run against Lamborn, but he had to
And legally, you can't have a radio show and run for office,
Right.
is what it comes down to.
Really? Why?
It gives you an unfair advantage.
Oh,
That's why we have to monitor how much time we give each candidate and all of that because of FCC violations.
can they have a podcast?
Oh, absolutely. That's completely unregulated.
That's really interesting. Because I think a lot of the younger people are into podcasts more than the radio.
here we go. All right, I got a clock. I've got a script. I've got David. I've got you, Barb, and I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with the host of the program, that is Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, I know many people ask you questions when getting ready to sell their homes. So what are the top questions that home sellers should be asking before they put their home up for sale?
Well, Richard, unless a home is really underpriced by at least 10%, in general, homes are taking a little bit longer to sell now than they were probably a year and a half ago. And, part of that is that there are 30% fewer buyers in the buyer pool right now just because of affordability. They can't handle the payments with the rates being as high as they are. So that's why it's still more of a seller's market, but only if they get those 4 things right: pricing it right, picking the right agent, preparing the home for sale, and making sure your agent is properly marketing the home to attract the right buyer. So let's kind of go over some questions that a seller should be asking when they're getting ready to sell their home. The number one question is, how do I prepare my home for sale? And I get those questions all the time from customers. I love answering it. And it depends on the house. It's a very custom answer. I was in a house yesterday that looked amazing. It was ready except for a little bit of decluttering. It was really ready to go. And I think the problem is many home sellers often are their worst critics of their own home. Well, should I update this? Should I paint that? And I'm like, no, it doesn't need to be done. So you really need kind of an objective pair of eyes to take a look at it and just give you tips on what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale. And that's a free service that we offer to our clients all the time. The number 2 question, which is probably the most important question, is how much is my house worth? Now, there's a lot of conflicting data out there about this one topic. Number 1 is they look at the online Zestimates of what their home is worth, and those could be accurate or they're not. And you never know how accurate. Many times, some of these websites like Zillow and Realtor.com, they both have online guesstimations of what the home is worth, but there's a big wide range in them. And at the end of the day, they don't know anything about that house in particular. They don't know what kind of improvements are in the home. They don't know whether or not the home has views, for an example. Homes with views tend to sell for more money than a home that doesn't have views. And, not unlike the boom that was going on, not every single home is selling. And that's why pricing it correctly is absolutely critical. And you need to have an agent that really knows how to help you make that decision to price it the right way so it doesn't sit on the market month after month after month. Nobody wants that. Nobody likes it, especially when we have problems with some of these agents, either scheduling a showing and not showing up, or showing up early, showing up late, leaving doors unlocked, leaving lights on, using the restrooms. All these things happen all the time. So it's always better to get through that pain point as quickly as possible. And you can do that if you price it right. Now, that's one of the things that we absolutely do. We provide excellent empirical data, not only on what homes have sold for, which is important data for the appraisers. It's what your current competition is. What does the new construction in the area look like? Because that's a tough competitor. What do similar homes that have sold in the area? What if the buyer doesn't care about the floor plan? What other homes are out there that the buyer can buy in that price range? So you really have to position the home to win in that scenario. And that's why we try our best to give our clients the best information. And that way, when you go on the market, you're perfectly set up, that the home is prepared right. The buyer doesn't have to worry about any kind of deferred maintenance unless you're selling it below market, that it's priced realistically versus optimistically, and it's promoted properly. The pictures have to be right too, because we know a huge percentage of the buyers are eliminating homes right on their phone, swipe, 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 in a matter of less than 1 minute. Sometimes it could just be one picture and they're saying no. And that's why it's really important to pick the right agent. The number 3 question that's a great question to ask is, how long will it take for me to sell my home? How do I know if I actually hit the right target on all those things? Well, it depends on preparation. It depends on the seller's needs. Some sellers want to sell more quickly than not. Some sellers want a normal market time and they're not in a huge hurry. And so if it's priced right, it will sell right away. We just put one home under contract that the buyer said, okay, I'll buy it. The first weekend out of the gate, we had a huge crowd at the open house. We got a contract right away. And the seller's like, wait, slow down. I don't want to go that fast. I still need to say goodbye to friends and family. So, we can always negotiate those things when it comes up, but we definitely ask the right question. So as far as days on market, it really depends on where you are in the area. Like, I pulled up a graph and I superimposed all the different local areas like Douglas County, Pueblo, El Paso County, Woodland Park. And what we're seeing right now, almost consistently across the board, is the average days on market are dropping, which is kind of typical in the springtime. And in most cases, with the exception of Woodland Park, the average days on market are less than 90 days. So that's basically a pure definition of a buyer's market. So that's a good thing. That means that you got to price it right and make sure that if it's priced what I call realistically versus optimistically, and it's marketed right, you're going to get it sold in a reasonable amount of time. But if you don't, the market's going to tell you right away. The market gives you how can I say that? The market gives you clues right out of the gate as to whether or not you got the 4 P's correct. So the 4 P's are preparation, promotion, pricing, and picking the right agent. So number 1, the number of showings is a big clue. If you're not getting very many showings, if you're getting one a week, one a month, something like that, something's wrong. It could be marketing, it could be pricing, it could be a combination of both. It could be the condition of the home. So all those things have to be really scrutinized. If you go 10 showings with no offer, you're priced too high. If you go 10 days with no showings, you're priced too high. But if you're getting offers, you're probably very close to being priced right. maybe that's not the right buyer for you. Buyer number one, you might pick buyer number two. That's okay, no problem. But if you're getting low offers, it's probably you're just a little close, but it's not the buyers that you want. So you can just wait out the market. I just sold a home down in the Fountain area a couple weeks ago where the initial offer that came in, the buyer's agent, who was a licensed, or the buyer was a licensed real estate agent, actually asked the seller to pay her 31,000 of her closing costs. It was priced at 4.25. It's like, what? Why would a seller pay that much money of the buyer's closing cost in addition to the seller's closing cost? And so I called the lender and said, so why do they need so much closing costs? And he's like, well, they're going to pay all this money to buy down the interest rate. Then they're going to pay some more money to permanently buy down the rate. And then they're going to pay all of the buyer's closing costs, and it's going to be great. Well, it might be great for the buyer, but it's not great for the seller. So the seller went, reject. I'm not even playing that game. I'm not even going to answer that offer. And we went on to sell it to a good buyer that didn't ask for ridiculous concessions. And it's really important that when you do get offers that you pay a close attention to what it says, watch for those strings attached, like 31,000 in closing cost, or weird contingencies in the contract. I recently got an offer on a very high priced home where they wanted to tie up and reserve this home and wait for them to get out of a new construction contract with a builder. And it's like, no, you don't get to lock and shop, honey. If you're under contract with another home, you need to terminate that, and then you're available to buy this home. And so we didn't respond to it. The seller didn't accept that offer. And then a week or so went by, and I reached out to the agent and said, hey, what's going on? Are you still going to stick with the new construction contract? Oh, yeah, we are. And I'm like, why would you do that? That creates all kinds of demand destruction on that particular seller. If you take a contract, take the house off the market, all the other buyers disappear. And of course, the offer was submitted before we started showing. And the buyer didn't have the ability to perform. So you got to really make sure you hire an agent that knows how to read the contracts, every single paragraph, and understand what it means. Some sale contingencies, and as an example, can get very complicated. I had one that was a 4-way sale. So you really have to read everything, get a copy of everything, so you're fully aware of what's going on when you accept a contract. Another question that I get a lot is, how important is staging? And I just sold a home last week where it was on the market, showing after showing after showing. It wasn't selling. We were talking about making a price adjustment, but I didn't think it was underpriced. It was just that they had replaced the basement carpet, but not the main level. And then they went and moved out of the house. So once they did that, the traffic patterns on the old carpet really jumped out. It just looked terribly dated, empty. And so that was the feedback. So they came back, they did some improvements, they replaced the carpet, updated a few things, and we staged it. Boom, sold for almost full price right away. You don't want your house to be eliminated on the smartphone. So that means that when you do something like that, you got to update the photos. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about the top questions a home seller should be asking when getting ready to sell. And when we come back, we're going to cover some more. Richard?
If you're planning on making a move this year and you want one of Barb's free reports, it'll help you prepare to sell your home for the most money. Go to Barb Has the Buyers. You'll find the 10 questions you must ask before hiring an agent. That'll be up in the upper top under the button that says free reports, and give Barb a call at 719-301-3900. We're discussing the top questions a home seller should ask when getting ready to sell their home. Everyone knows I've been recommending you for years now. Barb, tell us what are some of the key questions that a home seller should ask from their real estate agent.
Well, a good question is, why should I pick one agent over another? Just so home sellers know, actually 80% of real estate agents get out of the business every 5 years. And with this new settlement with the National Association of Realtors, is going to be a lot more than that. 81% of agents sell 3 or less homes a year, not a month, a year. And half of those don't sell any. So a really good question is, how many homes have you sold in the last year, in the last month, in your entire career, if they know that data? Most of them don't even know the data. Because, if there are fewer sales that agent is doing, how do they really know how to navigate what's going on in the market, and whether or not the suggestions that they make to the seller are consistent with the current market, so they can have the seller win and get the most money? Also, we often get a question about the home's assessed value on the property tax website, and how does that different from like Zillow and an appraiser value and market value. So an assessed value is basically, it's the property tax valuation that's supposed to be based on the value of the home 18 months behind the current market. Well, 18 months ago, the market was a lot hotter in 2022, right? So that's for tax purposes only, but generally, most of the time, it's less than what the current market value is, but it isn't right now because we had that big boom when the rates were low. But market value essentially is what a buyer will pay. A Zillow value is just an online guess of what it might sell using similar homes around it. An appraised value is an opinion of value from a licensed appraiser. Sometimes is good, sometimes not so good. So another question that people should ask is, how long is the agreement that you're going to sign, that you're going to ask me to sign to commit to sell my house with that one agent? Now, that's a negotiable point between the seller and the agent. And so the length of agreement kind of depends on how quickly a home like that can sell. Like homes in the multi-millions are going to take longer to sell than a home that might be priced at 400,000, right? And also, what does the agent actually promised, and can you get out of the contract? Can you cancel the contract if you're not satisfied, or if they're not doing what they actually promised to perform? And so that's part of the stuff that we go over. We offer all kinds of guarantees, including a cancellation guarantee with our clients, communication guarantee, honest promises guarantee. They can fire us if they're not happy. We have many more questions that you can download on that free report on our website, the top questions you should ask an agent before you put your home on the market. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Our goal is, I'm sorry, hang on a second here. We jumped here. 321. You've been listening to Your Real Estate 321. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Or if you want a free report, the top 10 questions to ask before you hire a real estate agent, visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Go to the green button up in the upper right-hand corner that says free reports. Click there. When we come back, we'll be discussing Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb Has the Buyers team provides consumer savings after Realtor Association class action lawsuit, plus settlements and Barb's hot new listings. Boy, that was a mouthful.
Yeah, let's change that. So I actually changed the description on that segment because it was long and dumb.
Okay.
So what I
Oh,
changed
I'll
it
just read it
to,
off of what you have there then, right? Or is that the same?
let me see if it's on.
Same, yeah.
It's so it's the top of segment. I have the wrong date on there. I'm so sorry. Top of segment 4.
Okay.
If you look at the Word doc there, it says how sellers can save thousands by hiring the Barb Has the Buyers team. All about the NAR lawsuit and hot new listings.
There we go. All right. We'll do this again. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Or if you want a free report, the top 10 questions to ask before you hire a real estate agent, visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Go to the green button that'll be in the upper right-hand corner, and it says free reports. When we come back, we'll be talking about how sellers can save thousands by hiring Barb as her. When we come back, we'll be talking about how. When we come back, we'll be talking about how sellers can save thousands by hiring Barb and her team. All that, oh gosh, all that about the NRA.
All about the the Realtor Association lawsuit. Maybe that's
All
something.
right, yeah. Because I think some of that gets over people's heads. 3, 2, 1. When we come back, we'll be talking about how sellers can save thousands by, oh geez, now it's got me. 3, 2, 1. When we come back, we'll be talking about how sellers can save thousands by hiring Barb and her team. Plus, we'll be talking about that National Association of Realtors lawsuit. You don't want to miss that, or Barb's hot new listings. Did
Good.
that work?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, that was a long, convoluted title, and it is a very interesting topic. I'm so excited.
Okay. I'm so excited. I have to go to the bathroom again.
Yeah, I need to stretch my legs too.
That is just, I don't know what you.
Huge. I'm so excited about this segment. Oh. They're gonna hate me. I love it. You know what? So no longer is the co-op gonna be in it.
That is awesome. They have no
And
idea.
there's no promise of commission.
Yeah.
Gone.
That's
So,
great.
and they have to sign the buyer agency agreement to show.
Nice. Before they even get to know what they're making.
Yes.
That's awesome. I love that. Very fun. Do you know of any, your own soul energy people in San Antonio?
San Antonio.
Yeah.
Dang, I was just there. Went to that one conference there.
Mhm.
Let me think about it.
All right, I have my sellers from Sonoma are moving up there.
Are they?
Yeah, in July, I believe, so.
I could put it out on the email chat.
Awesome.
I thought we did, because we had a conference there.
Yeah, I remember you did, so I thought
Yeah.
I'd ask you if there's somebody you wanted to refer to.
All right, Wendy. Yeah. I want you to sit in on this one and just tell me if I'm going too far. Okay. I'm gonna print this too. Not printing on the sides, that's just stupid. All right, you wanna go get that? Cause this is gonna. It's exciting, but then again, I have to get the rabble rouser out of me sometimes. Sometimes it works against me.
I was talking about my show the other day. I was trying to cram too much into it. I probably had
That's pretty easy to do in politics, man, oh man.
all over my desk, and they were all important, but
Yeah,
it would have taken me like 3 hours to get through everything. So instead, I'm trying to rush through everything in a half an hour. Everybody swore it sounded fine. I don't know. I think sometimes people tell you that and it's really not true, but all right. Let's see. I got a new clock. I got segment 4. I've got David and
so just like kick me if you think I'm off base. I've got my operations manager sitting next to me.
oh,
I'm
there
gonna
you go.
tell her to kick me if she thinks I'm a little too snarky.
All right.
And then I'll stop and we'll find another way to say it.
Okay. I'm good to go then. How about you, Barb?
All right, get ready, strap in.
All right, you got it. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. And it does it with the host of the program, Barb Schlinker, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, we're hearing a lot in the news about the National Association of Realtors lawsuit settlement for price fixing and antitrust violations. How is that going to affect the real estate industry going forward?
Well, Richard, it's very interesting. This has actually been going on for about 5 or 6 years. And so it's totally busting out industry norms and standards. The norms and standards were that a seller would hire an agent to sell their house, and then they only have a contract with their own agent, but their own agent shares the commission with a buyer's agent who actually works against their interest. An analogy would be like you hire an accountant to protect you from the IRS, but you're also forced to pay the IRS agent to work against you. That's pretty much how the industry works right now. So let's say a seller wants to sell a home, right? The whole theory behind this initially, when it started, and it's been going on in this country for a long time, is that they wanted to maximize the number of buyers coming to look at their home, because that way they can get the most money and or get the right buyer for what they're looking for. And so as it stands right now, in order to get that maximum exposure, they have to put their home in the multiple listing service, which only people that are at least in the Pikes Peak region, you have to be a National Association of Realtors member in order to put a listing up into this single MLS here, which is in El Paso, Teller, and Elbert counties. It's almost like a monopoly the way they've run it. You can't put it in if you don't want to be a member of their organization. And there are actually probably 1,500 different MLS, what I call clubs, in the country. And what they do is it's kind of like a big spreadsheet of homes for sale with pictures. But back in the 90s, when they took all these homes and put them up online for the buyers to see, what changed was before the agents controlled the inventory and you couldn't get past the door and find out what was available unless you sat down with the real estate agent. And I don't know, you're probably too young, Richard, but if they used to sell homes by having this big white phone book. So to get a home, you had to go meet with an agent and they'd pull out this white phone book, may have one black and white picture, and the agents knew the inventory and had some control over which home the buyer would see. Is that your experience in the past?
Oh, it is. I remember that. Absolutely.
Yeah, so when everything went online, what changed is the buyers are seeing the pictures. Now the buyers are saying, hey, get me in that home. I want to see that home. How come you're not showing me that home? And so it totally turned our world upside down. Plus, we added in Realtor.com and Zillow. So what happens when you put a home in the multiple listing service? It gets shared with Realtor.com and Zillow. Both of those are not part of the MLS. They are tech companies that sell leads to real estate agents. That's their sole purpose in life for the most part. All right. And that way you would have the homes out there across all the different websites, my competitors' websites, even Walmart would show your home for sale, right? So it does maximize the exposure going through that system. But the problem is most of these websites will minimize who the actual listing agent is, and they will take that data like Zillow and Realtor.com and sell leads to agents so that the agents can go open the door and sell that home to a buyer that they met through Zillow or Realtor.com. And so as an example, they've tried to get me to buy leads from Zillow. In just one zip code, I would have to pay them $3,500 a month to have 6 leads. That's pretty expensive per lead. And that lead is going to be shared with a half dozen other agents. So here's how it goes. The buyer raises their hand, says, hey, I want to see that house. They think they're talking to the listing agent, but no, that lead is getting sent to some random agent that paid some money to get the lead. They get the buyer on the phone. The buyer wants to see it. Oh, okay, let's go see it. So the very first meeting is at the house. They don't know anything about the buyer. They don't know if the buyer has the ability to buy a house. They don't know what kind of house the buyer is looking for. And they certainly don't know anything about the home. That's the last thing they're going to check out. But the buyer thinks that the agent that they met with knows something. They know the home, they know the market, they know whether or not it's a good buy or not a good buy. And so it really has, it's the way they set up the system, the way the National Association of Realtors did it is the way that commission is shared. So let's say it's a 6% commission and the agent's going to share, I don't know, 3 or 2.8% to the agent that brings the buyer. That amount that's shared with the agent that brings the buyer is not negotiable in any way. And the problem is, so whatever you advertise is going to be shared with the buyer's agent. If the buyer agent brings the buyer and they close, the agent that listed the home absolutely must pay that agent that amount of money, no matter what is negotiated in the contract. And here's the problem. The seller is paying the buyer's agent who's working against their interest. Let me give you a couple of examples. One of them is recently had a home under contract and they went to do the inspection. First of all, the agent had a hissy fit that the seller was there. And I'm like, so are you asking me to kick the seller out of their own home? Because I'm not going to do that. But it was just, she wasn't used to it. And then on her objection, the buyer had asked for a brand new roof. The roof was 10 years and 1 month old. And only because their insurance company would not cover a roof that was more than 10 years old. And the answer was like, no, we're not giving you a brand new roof just because it's more than 10 years old. And we had to have 2 roofers go look at the roof. And both of them said, there's nothing wrong with the roof. It's perfectly fine. And we just told the buyer, if you want the house, get new insurance. But not every agent knows how to really, negotiate and push back on some of these dumb requests. So the problem with the National Association mandating that the commission is paid to the buyer's agent, regardless of what is paid, is called price fixing. So some of these, what I call big box brokerages, actually put it in their training documentation that said, if you don't offer at least X percentage to the agent that brings the buyer, agents, the buyer's agents, are going to boycott your house. They're not going to show your house because you're not offering a larger amount of commission. And they even went further, where our association actually mandated that we share to the public how much commission is being paid to the buyer's agent, which could actually make the seller look bad up against other properties. And it's just dumb the way it works. The problem is there's no negotiations. The problem is the sellers filed lawsuits complaining that they were paying for agents that were trying to work against the deal and work against their best interest, but it was coming out of the seller's pockets. So that created a problem, and it created a class action lawsuit, and they sued they sued brokerages, the National Association of Realtors, because the buyer's agents many times will encourage buyers to offer less than the asking price. They'll ask for ridiculous repairs. They'll sabotage the closing. And yet the seller is forced to pay the buyer's agent, even though the buyer's agent might be taking steps to derail the transaction. Let me give you an example. Just a few weeks ago, I have a listing, it's sold, but before that, when they went to do the inspection, the seller was out of town and they asked us to represent them on the inspection. So we did. And I actually have a document that I send to them to let them, the agents know, hey, we could be there for the inspection, so could the seller, and you can't ask us to leave. So sure enough, one of my team members was there. The agent shows up with her buyers and absolutely has a meltdown that one of my team members attended. And I said, okay, put her on the phone. Let me talk to her. And she was just flipping out. I've never seen this before. We have a right to be in here, blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, I work for the seller, and the seller asked me to represent them at the inspection. And so that's what we're doing. Plus, we're available to answer any questions. It's a custom home. She could get on the phone right now and get an answer from the seller if your inspector, who is not licensed, is unfamiliar with the property. So I think it's a benefit. She goes, well, I'm going to ask my buyer to terminate. So she was going to just blow up the deal because she didn't like the fact that we were there representing our client. We didn't say anything. We just stayed out of the way. And my assistant was looking at her. She went outside with her buyer, arms in the air, flopping on the floor, having a hissy fit. And she could see the buyer rolling his eyes, going, oh my God, what's wrong with this woman? And ultimately, the buyer and the inspector came back in, apologized to us, and the deal did close. So I don't know why they do that crazy stuff, but they do crazy things for some unknown reason. So the problem is, a seller paying a buyer's agent is a conflict of interest. It would be like paying someone else's attorney that's suing you. So, that is the reason this is happening. And we're going to see a whole lot of changes in the industry this summer. I'm actually very excited about, because I think it's going to benefit the sellers. It's going to increase the amount of money they put in their pocket. It's also going to weed out the people that really don't understand what they're doing. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And Barb has the buyer's team and also the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we were talking about how home sellers can save money when they are working with our team. And next up, we're going to talk about the impact of this new settlement agreement of this National Association of Realtors and other brokerage lawsuits, and how the sellers can actually save on commission working with our team. Richard?
We're talking, Barb, about the settlement reached by the National Association of Realtors and how that will impact the real estate industry going forward. Barb, what is the settlement and how will things change in the real estate market?
Well, the number one thing is going to start in July is there'll be no mandate and no mention of commission being paid to the buyer's agent, right? So the agents also must have a written agreement with their buyer before they show houses. That was another thing that drove me crazy, is the agents would meet the buyers for the first time out at the door, and they didn't know if they could buy a couch on Craigslist, let alone that home. So it was just create a big waste of time and inconvenience for the sellers, and just put the whole profession in doubt, in my view. Now, the buyer's agents must, first of all, have an agreement with their client. They have to basically be able to articulate the value that they will bring, and they have to negotiate their own fees. Oh, what a thought. I can't believe that somebody in the sales business has to learn how to negotiate. So that's one thing. Another thing is the big question is, what do buyer's agents do anyway? I can tell you what's going on right now. They connect with the buyer, typically online. They meet the buyer for the first time at the door. They open the door, they play Vanna White and show the home. And if the buyer wants it, they fill out a form that's a legal contract that most agents don't understand. It takes maybe 20 minutes to fill out the form. And if they get the buyer under contract, they attend the inspection, maybe if they have to. They ask the seller to fix things, and then they do a final walkthrough and ask for more stuff, and then they attend the closing to get paid. None of those things benefit the seller, none of them. And so that is why this lawsuit happened. And I think the industry is going to turn on its head very soon. And I calculated right now with the average sales price, how much money and how much per hour an agent is working when they're working with the buyer. And I figure it's probably 10 hours of work per transaction. Right now with the average sales price, they're going to make about $15,000. That's like $1,500 an hour, you know? And yet they're still trying to derail the deal. It makes no sense to me. So I think this change is going to be awesome. So who is actually going to pay it? Well, in the future, it could be a buyer's expense, or it could be negotiated in the contract. Or what could happen is the buyer goes directly to the listing agent to buy the home, or maybe the home is not in the MLS at all. Maybe there's some other website that they have to go through to get a buyer for their home. And I see all that in the future. I'm so excited about it. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. We offer a free in-home consultation to help you get ready to get top dollar and share with you all of our buyers in waiting. Richard?
Barb is the only agent that I would recommend. It's been that way forever. And when you're thinking of making a move, talk to Barb. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. Barb is the host of the program, and she's the proprietor of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. One part of this program that you absolutely love, Barb, your hot new listings, lightning round for them.
Absolutely. Fabulous townhome over by Peterson Air Force Base. New, beautiful on Riley Grove in the upper threes. A fantastic home on Snowbird that's completely remodeled. Great home on Powers Road on 35 acres with a barn. Fabulous 4-bedroom on Lavanya in the mid-4s and Fountain. Great townhome in Briargate in the low 3s on Smoke Tree. And open this weekend, spectacular home, 14727 Allegiance Drive in the low 6s, right by the Air Force Academy. And there's many, many more. So to find out about all of our listings, go to barbhasthebuyers.com or call us at 719-301-3900. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday, 11 o'clock, right after Larry Kudlow. Host of the program is Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can always call her at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Remember, you can see replays of the show on Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Schlinker, or you can search for her on all of the popular podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and many, many others. Thank you for listening. And to reach out to Barb, again, call 719-301-3900. Thanks for listening. Barb, you have a great week and a great weekend.
You too.
All right. Hang on one second, because
What?
we're running a little bit late. He had to step
Was I
out.
too mean?
What's that?
I had more stories I wanted to add, but I ran out of time. So,
Oh, he had to run out at 1 o'clock real quickly, and he is
oh my
back.
God, it's after 1.
So we can cut the promos here.
Yeah, hold on just a sec.
Was I too bad?
No, I think no. I don't think you ever are. You always worry about it, but you're not. Yeah, there you are. She didn't kick you. That all right. Let's see here. God, my shoulders are so bad.
I just don't know what a home seller will think of all that. They're gonna be like, she's crazy.
Well, you know what? Here's what I think. All of these other real estate